And welcome back. BronxConnect is a community and faith-based program offering alternative justice, cure violence, and reentry programs, helping communities build from within. BronxConnect has served over 2,000 youth and also young adults in its alternative programs for court-involved high-risk youth. For nearly 2 decades, it's been the only Bronx-based, faith-based, and community-based alternative to incarceration and alternative to detention program that's actually serving our community. And joining us now to share a little bit on the matter and give their point of view and introduce us to BronxConnect, we are welcome to be joined by the Director of Development at BronxConnect, Pamela Villa. And Pamela, good to have you.
Hey, good to be here, Daren. Here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's good to be here. And I mean, we're virtual, but thank God you're there. I'm here. We're still able to bring information to the community with regards to social justice. And when we talk about social justice, one of the things that we really talk about is mass incarceration and how mass incarceration is oftentimes a part of that social justice. But you guys really do a proactive job of really trying to get there before incarceration and dealing with people who are, in detention, but can also have some alternatives to incarceration. So introduce us to BronxConnect.
So BronxConnect was founded in 1999. And our mission is really it started off as keeping youth out of jail. And since then, we've also expanded and have also working with adults as well. And we do that through various different programs in the community. As you said, we provide alternatives. So when young people get involved in the court system, instead of sending them to prison or detention, New York City judges, and primarily we work in the Bronx and Harlem, they say, you know what, it's probably a better idea to keep that kid out of prison or jail. Let's keep them in the community. Let's send them to BronxConnect, where they'll be plugged into counseling, where their families will get support, where they'll, get opportunities for employment, training, as well as actual ways like licensing for construction and all these other resources that are proven to actually help kids stay out of jail in the future.
And when we talk about kids staying out of jail, I think that's really what everybody would like to see. Certainly the bad people, of course, must be incarcerated, but a lot of kids in youthfulness, I think about some of my youthful indiscretions. I could have been, any one of us could be in a bad situation. But to have an alternative that's actually presented to us can actually make the difference. So tell me a little bit about the difference that you feel that this makes when you have these programs for kids who are possibly headed down the wrong path or who just simply made wrong decisions.
So science has finally kind of caught up to what our executive director, Reverend Wendy Calderon Payne, has been onto since we founded in 1999. And she founded BronxConnect because she believed in certain values around redemption and love and really loving on kids that said we've all made bad decisions and they deserved not really even a second chance, because sometimes it really is just the first chance to actually make things right. And so over the past 15 years, science has been catching up with increased technology and MRIs, and we're learning that kids and young people, even young adults to the age of 26, are at a very unique developmental stage where if you rehabilitate them and actually give them the supports that they need, they are more likely to end up having great life outcomes, which also benefits the community that they live in. It benefits their family. The community is safer. And so the science is finally catching up. And there was a Supreme Court ruling that kind of helped drive this home, that ruled that it is unconstitutional to have kids basically under 18 get life without parole because they don't have that consequential thinking that adults have. And so we really need to look at kids very differently. And really, to me, the science says it's up to 26 years old. It's not even 18. So there's more work to be done on how we could help, kids by using science and using evidence to increase public safety and to really support families and communities.
When we talk about advocacy, it's one of the most important things that I think happens inside that courtroom and even outside the courtroom, to advocate for young people and for those for alternatives to incarceration. Give us a little bit about what your thoughts are with regards to advocacy today and how it makes that difference.
Yeah, when kids join our program, they are basically coming into a family of people that are going to be their allies, their advocates. They do everything in their power to make sure that that kid doesn't end up in detention or prison. Because when they come in, if they don't follow their court mandate, if they don't make curfew, right, there's certain things that the judge says, okay, I'm going to let you stay in your community, but you have to do X, Y, and Z. And so our staff really goes above and beyond in helping basically meeting young kids where they're at in order for them to avoid that, punishment of them getting wrapped up in the system. And so we do everything to not, widen the net, so to speak, and to really keep kids out of prison, to advocate for them, to work with the court system, their public defenders, to do what we can to I mean, sometimes it might require doing a home visit, with the kid. For some reason there's something going on in the home with the family, and it's not even really the kid's fault, that maybe they're under resourced or there's issues going on. We will meet them in their homes to kind of do that case management and provide that counseling to help them out.
And when we talk about helping them out in programs, I want to talk about Rikers Island, because on this show we've been talking about Rikers Island and it's closing. But in addition to its closing, I want you to know, I want our viewers to know that BronxConnect has really been involved in Rikers Island. I know in 2018 you launched a misdemeanor program, and that misdemeanor program really did some great things for kids, and I should say not just kids, but really young adults. Tell people about the misdemeanor program.
So primarily before that, BronxConnect worked most heavily in our alternative justice program with violent kids that had committed violent felonies. And this program enabled us to work with more young people that had committed misdemeanors, but are really kind of like our sweet spot is really serious crime. So even in the misdemeanor program, we're talking about kids that have engaged in potentially violent crimes, or just kind of more serious type of crimes, which makes BronxConnect pretty unique. There's a lot of programs around the city that do this type of work, but I think that kind of specificity in our program model has allowed us to get really good at working with those kids. And really amazingly, we had a study conducted recently and found that 97% of our kids that graduated from the program successfully from our alternative justice program, which includes the misdemeanor program, went 3 years without another conviction, without another felony conviction, which is, I think everybody, all cities across the US should be looking at alternatives, because I just think it's so much more effective than sending kids away.
Right. And when we talk about sending kids away, it's the hardest thing to do, but the criminal justice system, we know, has this issue of mass incarceration. And that could be a young person, that could be an adult, and particularly in communities of color, we know that there are disproportionate numbers of those of us who are in communities of color that end up in the criminal justice system, end up having to deal with this thing called mass incarceration. So talk to me about the work that's being done, outside of the four walls to really make the public, the community, and the nation aware as to some of the injustices and how programs such as yourself can really make the difference.
Thank you for asking that question. I think beyond our direct service, which has been what we've been doing for many, many years, in 2019, we formally launched an advocacy and organizing team to look at these systemic and policy issues at a much greater level. Our executive director had always been a huge proponent of alternatives. As you said, we were part of the Closed Rikers Coalition. We still are advocating to make sure that Rikers Island does close. But we've really gotten intentional about what can we do to increase power in the Bronx and Harlem to have kids advocating for their needs. We're training a group of 15 to 20 young people who have criminal justice involvement around organizing, advocacy, media, how to get their opinions out there, because we believe that that's really how you make a change. And we're going to be doing some interesting stuff at the state level around policy to protect kids, and would also be happy to talk more in depth about those things.
Yeah, we'll look forward to talking and have that conversation, because I think it's really important that, and especially in this day and age with what we are facing right now, policies definitely have to change. Are you happy with what you're seeing right now in the terms of the social step up, if you will, the advocacy, the talk about against police brutality, all the things that's happening right now? Are you happy with what you're seeing by way of allyship and people really stepping up to this cause that really hits you right at your door?
Yeah, I am. And I think, we're constantly bombarded these days with different calls to action, different, initiatives that are being looked at, which is really, really great. And one of the things that we're really excited about is that we are going to have the opportunity to also launch in Philadelphia soon. And I think that the general, I hope, that the general feeling in our country is that this system is not working. And I know that that's a very polarizing view. Some people may disagree, but we have seen firsthand how mass incarceration has destroyed our communities and how our communities of color have seen disproportionate effects dating back to the 1980s when mass incarceration really kind of started to gear up. And through today, we're still seeing those effects. We've witnessed generations of primarily Black men, but also Latino men and women of color being basically taken away from their communities. And that's not going to increase public safety, right? How can we actually think about public safety from a really kind of innovative and evidence-based way to help our communities?
What do you find are some of the biggest challenges that you're facing right now today?
I think with COVID-19 and what we're probably going to be seeing budget cuts across, we're already seeing citywide how budgets are being affected, revenues are down, both at the city and state levels. And so I think that's one of our greatest challenges. Proudly, BronxConnect managed to not fire anyone due to COVID-19 reasons, and not fire, but we didn't have to let anyone go. And
Right.
that really goes to show that we have a really community level mindset where we're focused on developing community. And also most of our people, 25% of our full-time staff is formally incarcerated. So it's really important to us to make sure that they keep their jobs during this time. And so we're doing everything we can to support our families. We applied for some relief funding, which was really great. A lot of foundations did these rapid response relief efforts, which allowed us to put money directly in the pockets of our families, which was amazing. And we're hoping to continue to see that. I think the biggest challenge is we hope that this energy doesn't die down. We hope that foundations continue to recognize the need for immediate funding and direct funding for our kids beyond, the programs that we've always kind of provided.
Well, I think about where you are right now, and I think about the fact that, this advocacy is going on. It seems as though all cameras, all lights, camera action seems to be directed towards this issue of, policing, incarceration, the justice system. It seems as though it's almost like a seminal moment. Do you gather that it's almost like, it's almost like now or never to have massive change the way that we're talking?
I think so. And I think, beyond the politics and beyond all of the madness that is playing out at a national level, I'm really seeing people that previously were not concerned about these issues ask about them. People that were kind of on the political, in the middle of the road, moderate friends that, don't necessarily vote one way all the time, come and ask me about these issues. And they've these people have not worked in these spaces. They haven't been exposed to, really seeing a lot of interest. And for me, it's how do we keep that going? How do we maintain that sense of urgency into the future? Because this is not going to be resolved even in a few years. This is really systemic, deep rooted stuff.
Yeah. And when you talk about that, I laugh because I'm like, there's a general enlightenment is what I call it, right? People are somewhat now more enlightened than ever before. But for those of us who've been doing the work and those of us who've been connected and reporting and, and living it out, this has been a day-to-day grind. Does it kind of surprise you now that the light is so all of a sudden turning on for more and more people?
Yeah, it's a little surprising for sure. I think, as much as social media scares me because of all the misinformation, there's that silver lining that I think people are being more exposed when bad things happen, when cops, kill people on the streets. I think people are finding out about it in ways that are a lot more visceral. Even, a few years ago, we got some of that footage starting, with, I think it was Tamir Rice, right? And, there wasn't footage for a lot of the other folks that were killed, last time when Black Lives Matter was basically founded. But there's that, I think people are feeling more committed to documenting and getting things on camera. And I think that is crucial. I think that is how we create change, because if people don't see it, then it becomes much easier to just brush it under the rug and, say, oh, that was just one cop. But when you're seeing video after video, you have to start asking yourself, what's going on.
Yeah. And before we go, please tell people how they can get connected to Bronx Connect and the work that you're doing.
So I would encourage folks to either reach out to myself. My email is Pamela, Pamela, V as in Victor, @BronxConnect.org. Or they could also head over to our website, BronxConnect.org, and reach out to us that way as well.
All right. Well, Pamela, certainly it's great to have you sharing with us here on the show. Thank you so much for being with us here on the Social Justice Forums.
Thank you so much, Daren. Appreciate you.
All righty. Pamela Villa, our guest from Bronx Connect. Listen, stay with us. We've got more show. We're coming right back right after this.